we've all come to the table based on our own experience and trying to follow what we find is working, you know. But okay, I'll just introduce Alex.
Hi guys, so I'm Alex. I first got into sort of low carb and fasting stuff when I was doing my bachelor at the University of Manchester, and my dad sent me a lecture by a guy called Professor Volek, who talked about ketosis, and I found it very interesting. So I did a year out of my bachelor, and I went and worked for Professor Volek for a year in Ohio in the US. So that was really cool. And basically that sold the whole thing to me. I was extremely interested in low carbohydrate diets and all that stuff. But when I came back to the UK, I found that we at the time, at least, this was 2015, 16, we weren't as perhaps far ahead as the US was on the low carb research and stuff like that. So I spent a while looking what I could do really? After I graduated to get into.
Right? Like you grew up.
Oh, sorry. Did I hear something there? Sorry, I heard some audio there. Anyway, so I was looking around for ways I could get into the low carb stuff in the UK, and I found Dr. David Unwin, who I'm sure some of you have heard of. He's a GP who's really revolutionized low carb diets in the UK in his general practice, and he helped me to get a job with diabetes.co.uk, which is an organization that owns the low carb program, helps people to learn how to do a low carb diet, amongst other types of diet as well. It's a huge forum for people with diabetes. And so I worked for them for a couple of years, and I'm now studying at the University of Bergen in Norway, and I'm studying fasting. The research I'm doing is actually in mice, but hopefully it's going to be translatable to humans as well. We're just looking at how fasting affects different diseases. So that's me.
Okay, so what, you know, is there anything specifically that you feel that we should know in terms of do's and don'ts of fasting's rules, things to watch out for, when it might be safe, and who you know, who is fasting not recommended for, or, you know, because we all tend to jump in according to the way we feel, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to talk about like fasting safely, if someone's not fasted before and they want to get into it, I would say a few things. The first is that, like, some people try and do too much too soon. So they see all these videos about fasting, and they'll just try and do, like, you know, a 2 or 3 day fast just from day one, you know, and that can be very difficult to do because your body sort of gets into its own rhythm when you're used to eating a certain way at certain times, and it can take a bit of time to sort of relearn that and teach your body how to go without food for a certain amount of time, because there's hormones that control when you get hungry, and those hormones spike at your regular meal times. So I would say start slow, you know, just you've got a regular fasting period when you don't eat overnight. So the easiest thing to get into it is to just extend that throughout the morning, I would say, and try a 16-8 kind of thing where you just skip breakfast, or at least push it a couple of hours later than it would be. The second thing I'd say is some people get side effects from fasting when they start. Whether it's like fatigue or cramps or brain fog or stomach issues. A lot of these can be avoided just by making sure you're properly hydrated. Make sure you get enough water and salt and other electrolytes. But when it comes to the hunger pangs themselves, I would say try and ride through them. You tend to get, like, the first day can be the worst. You know, you get hungry at your usual meal times and you don't know whether you should give in or not. But a lot of the time you can ride through it, and it's comforting to know that the hunger pangs actually don't get worse as time goes on. They usually fade away as those hormones I mentioned tend to go lower and lower throughout the fast.
Are you talking about ghrelin here?
Yeah, exactly. So ghrelin goes up at your regular meal times because your body's trained to eat at those meal times. And not that you would start by doing this, but for example, if somebody does a multiple day fast, that ghrelin will spike lower and lower at those meal times as each day goes by. So you can sort of reteach your body to not give you hunger pangs. And of course, if you start off doing 16-8 when you start fasting, you're helping that process along. You're helping your body to not get shocked every time it misses a meal.
Okay. And obviously leptin plays an opposing part in the eating cycle, doesn't it, for the satiety?
It does, yeah, and that's heavily tied to the action of insulin as well. So fasting tends to be good for increasing your insulin sensitivity, because when people have metabolic syndrome or obesity or diabetes, they have insulin resistance that's built up over time, and insulin resistance also causes leptin resistance, and it sort of stops your body from recognizing when it's full or hungry properly. And so when people start fasting, they find that insulin resistance gets better, leptin resistance gets better, and they're more in tune with when their body really needs to or wants to eat.
Yeah. Okay. Regarding, because some people, they've mentioned that they've started fasting, and the next day they'll say, I'm not in ketosis yet.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about glucagon storage in the liver at all, and how getting into ketosis? Because that's, the part of the reason why people are doing it.
Glycogen, yeah.
Glycogen.
So I mean, the ballpark figure, usually what I've always told people, and this is what Professor Volek used to say, is if you're getting into, say, ketosis for the first time, it can take about 2 weeks is the ballpark figure before you start getting really fat adapted. And that's really what people are looking for when they are getting into ketosis. They're putting their body in a position where it burns fat for fuel instead of carbs. And that process usually takes around 2 weeks to get efficient. And of course, things can be a bit different based on whether you're truly doing a ketogenic diet for the purpose of being in ketosis, or if you're just doing fasting to sort of have a bit of a clean out in between your meals, because there's plenty of people do fasting in conjunction with a higher carb diet too, right? So if you're going for ketosis, it takes about 2 weeks, I would say, to get used to that. And if you're doing a high carb diet and you're fasting in between, you might dip into ketosis during the fasting periods. But obviously, when you're eating a high carb meal, you won't be in ketosis. So it really depends on what the individual's going for with their own diet. But so to test if you're in ketosis, if you're first starting out, you can buy these pee sticks that you pee on, and they'll change color based on how many ketones are in the urine. And these are okay for when you first start out. They give you a sort of yes or no answer as to whether you're in ketosis or not. And that's fine, because it can teach you, if you're doing a ketogenic diet, you'll know if you're eating enough few enough carbs to get into ketosis if you get a yes reading, which I think is usually a purple color on those things. But when you've been doing keto for a while, those sticks actually get less accurate because you don't urinate out as many ketones. When you're fully fat adapted, you're actually using those ketones for fuel. So If you're really seriously into keto and you want to monitor how far into ketosis you are, like every day or every week, whatever, a blood monitor is usually the way to go, although those are more expensive, and particularly the strips that you put in them are quite expensive. I personally don't track my ketones anymore. I did when I started out because it helped me. But now I just know what to eat, what not to eat, and how I'm feeling.
One of the questions that some of our members have had in the past, and I know Andrea's here tonight. So Andrea, are you there, Andrea? I thought I saw Andrea. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I'm thinking of you when I'm talking to Alex now. People talked about transit times, and obviously the fact that the stools, were very watery and all like diarrhea, and that, gave people concern. What am I doing that's wrong? Have I hit, is there something else going on here? And all I can say is that, well, it happened to me. Just hang on in there, because you're eating less food, your transit time will be longer, but everything that goes in will come out.
Well, yeah, for me, because I have low motility to start with, diarrhea is not normally my problem. But when I fasted for 48 hours, I had like basically liquid stools. I mean, it was like there was barely getting to the bathroom. And that happened both times I fasted for 48 hours. And then it happened again 5 days after my second fast. And that was wicked. I didn't dare leave the house that day. So now I'm really scared to fast again. I mean, I fast every day. I eat once a day. But to do like 48 hours or longer, I just don't know whether that would happen again. And I mean, for it to happen 5 days afterwards, like I can't stay home for 2 weeks, after I fast to make sure that it doesn't happen. So I just wondered if that is like a common reaction to have like basically watery stools, or if some of us are just, prone to that and maybe shouldn't fast more than 24 hours.
Yeah, so I think it's not uncommon for somebody when they first start fasting to get something like that. And like Trevlin says, a lot of people can just sort of ride through it and get used to it. If it's something the body's not used to, it stands to reason that you might become irregular or whatever. Some people get constipation, some people get diarrhea. Whether they're doing keto or fasting, that's actually fairly normal. Sometimes it can just be a case of staying hydrated or whatever. But or indeed like microbiome changes that might have something to do with it. But I would say if you're fasting anyway, if you're doing one meal a day or whatever you're doing, and that's working for you, and you feel bad if you do a multiple day fast, I personally would say just do what's right for you. If you've tried it a few times and every time it's resulted in huge discomfort and you're not getting any benefit out of it, I would say why keep trying to do that? Sorry.
Okay, that sounds fine then. I mean, I've lost well, as of today, I think it's 18.5 pounds since January 22nd. I'm at my goal weight and just passed it actually. So I don't need to lose any more weight by fasting. It seemed like a neat thing to do, but that wasn't fun at all. I mean, I felt fine, but I just couldn't leave the house. It was scary.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you experimented with it and maybe found out it's not for you.
Yeah, I think I will just keep doing what I'm doing. It seems to be working.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk to us about autophagy at all? I mean, will you just go into autophagy and explain what it is and how it's a byproduct or a by-happening of fasting, please, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Alex?
So autophagy means to eat oneself, basically. And it's something that when discovered, it won the Nobel Prize. I forget who won it.
2016, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, a few years ago, the guy that discovered it. got the Nobel Prize, and it's basically when your cells don't have enough energy, they start recycling their own parts, and it's sort of overall through the whole body, it's a kind of housekeeping process where old parts are recycled and regenerated, and this happens actually all the time. Autophagy is on at a low level because we're always sort of recycling and rebuilding. However, this really ramps up after a period of fasting because there's nothing coming in, and all the normal systems that tell the body that we don't need to recycle because we've got plenty of food, those get shut off when we're fasting. And so people who are after sort of more recycling or more regeneration tend to use fasting for that purpose. And autophagy is involved in a lot of different things. The research has gone into sort of anti-cancer effects because sort of the cells that become cancerous tend to be damaged or defective, and those tend to be the kinds of cells that get eaten up first when it comes to that the recycling process. Anecdotally, I don't think there's actually any hard research into this, but anecdotally, there's a guy called Jason Fung in Canada who does a fasting clinic, and he says he's never had to send a patient for skin removal surgery, and he's had patients that have lost a lot of weight. They've been very obese, and on his fasting regimen, they've also sort of got rid of their loose skin, and he reckons that's due to autophagy digesting the skin, because loose skin is basically just extra protein. So that when there's nothing coming in, the body might just digest that protein. So I think that's an interesting thing that perhaps needs to be looked at closer. And he also says that although autophagy is on all the time, he thinks if you're really looking to go after autophagy specifically, it probably ramps up sometime between 16 and 24 hours after starting fasting.
Okay, that's good. I can see Harvey's there. Harvey, along with Inga Danaher and one or two other people, they're like our fasting king and queen. I mean, Harvey does a 50 or 80. Just speak to Alex, Harvey, about your journey, and I just want you to encourage him.
You're muted, Harvey. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi, Alex, and
hi.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, I mean, I've been using fasting just as sort of as a weight loss really issue. I mean, when I started, it was OMAD, and then I actually did a few 48-hour ones, and then a few 72, and then 100s, wow. And just last month I've done 2 5-day ones, two actually 120 hours.
Wow.
And I mean, I find for me, because I was very large, I actually went up to 275 kilos. I'm now 135 kilos. So I've lost about 135 kilos in the space of 16 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Just actually doing the OMAD, low carb and fasting, really, And for me, I've got an addict brain.
Oh, the mute's popped on again. Sorry.
You're muted.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. My actually wife is trying to phone me. So anyway, so what did I say? Yeah. So I've got an addict's brain. So fasting for me is brilliant because I don't have to see my nemesis really. Actually, so much, and I find it actually gets me into a much more better mental clarity as well. Just my mental health it improves. I lose weight, mental health improves. I also save so much money on actually food bills.
Yeah.
Less than 5 days, man, nothing. So, And actually, after the fifth day or the sixth day, I make sure that the food I eat is like proper organic, from the right farm, grass fed. All my vegetables are organic because at least if I do eat, I can honor myself in that way, And so for me, I'm a living example of why fasting is a great tool, and it's even better if you have that addictive personality because it will calm down your voice.
That's interesting. What kind of diet do you eat when you are eating?
I just eat low carb and low fat. So I have a lot of broccoli, cauliflower, choy sum. I say all the Chinese vegetables really, mainly cruciferous actually the vegetables. And I have a chicken or mutton or actually pork, something like that. But I don't eat any starches or vegetables. I don't eat any sugar. I don't have any breads or rice. I don't have any. I don't have milk. I don't have literally much, But I eat, very very well, and I eat actually, to the full, and I actually never feel hungry at all. Only as I talk to Inga about this. I mean, even after the 5-day fast, I could go on, but I just miss the taste of food. I just miss the taste. It's not the actual fact that I'm feeling hungry. I just miss the taste.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people actually. It's that sort of sensation in your mouth that people are looking for as well a lot of the time. And I know that there was some company out there developed this like fasting drink, this electrolyte drink with all these cool flavors for that, that very purpose. So it really is a thing.
Yeah. No, it's actually good and stuff. What is it? I mean, can I ask you a question? When you're doing I can never pronounce the word autophagy. Do you just have to be in a pure clean fast, so you don't have any coffee or actually apple cider vinegar? Should it just be water based, or actually can you add coffee or tea, or I mean obviously without milk or sugar, but can we put that
so like I say, autophagy is on all the time, but if you're talking about ramping it up, no, like black tea and black coffee is not going to affect that at all. Actually, it's calories, and actually protein is the main inhibitor of autophagy.
Okay. And I was reading it. It's the ideal time is between what, 48 and 72. Is that the where's the optimum, and then after 72 it goes down?
I'm actually not sure about that. I know Jason Fung said when he went after it the most, he said over 24 to 48, I think he said. But whether it goes down after that, I'm not particularly sure. There might be some kind of survival mechanism where you don't want to break down too much over time.
And what would you recommend as when you finish your fast? What do you recommend in terms of food, especially if it's like a 3-day or a 5-day? How would you break it?
So this was something I wanted to go through actually. If you're doing a multiple day fast, your body actually obviously changes quite profoundly, and when you break your fast, there is a thing called refeeding syndrome.
Say that again, please. Say that again.
So there's something called refeeding syndrome.
Okay.
And if you've not eaten for a very long time, be it multiple days or even a week, if you break your fast too abruptly with a large meal, your electrolytes and your minerals in your blood can drop very rapidly because it's a sort of shock effect on the body. And it can be very dangerous. It can do anything from make you feel a little bit sick to put you in hospital or worse.
Really? My God.
So yeah, it's actually the reason they didn't want to feed like prisoners of war too quickly after World War II. So yeah, the main thing actually is the phosphate levels drop very, very quickly if you break your fast too strongly. So what people recommend is that when you break a multiple day fast, you have a very light meal for your first meal. just to sort of ease back into normality. So whether that would be like a light salad or a light soup or something that's not got too much, too many calories in, like nothing heavy like cheese or like a lot of meat or something like that, just salad leaves or soup or something light, just to get your body used to eating again. And then you can have your main meal like a few hours after that.
Right. Also, one thing, and thanks for the answer. 5-day fast. I actually do it without any medical supervision. Is that all right? Do you think, or do I have to tell someone?
I would always err on the side of caution. I mean, if you're adept at doing this and you know what works for you, then that's great. But especially for someone doing it for the first time, I would always say be cautious. And particularly people on medication, especially if it's blood pressure or diabetes medication, you have to be very careful with that. I'd inform your doctor that you're thinking of doing a fast and do it with their blessing. Get them to at least follow your medications closely, because if you're fasting for a long time and you're on blood pressure or diabetes meds, there's a risk that your glucose or blood pressure could go too low during that fast, which ordinarily it would be a good thing that your glucose or blood pressure would drop, because it means your body's getting more healthy, right? But when you're also taking those drugs, it could go too low, and you really need to keep an eye on that. And yeah, I would definitely inform your doctor if you're doing it for the first time or if you're on medication.
But you can't automatically expect your doctor to say, yeah, go for it, because they might not understand, never having been there, studied it, or known anything about it.
No, but it's very important to just bring up that issue, tell your doctor that you're doing it, and then you've got an opportunity for them to say, well, at least keep an eye on the medications. Okay. I mean, I would never tell anyone to cut ties with their doctor. I think that's not something I would advise.
No. Can I ask you a question? When you're fasting, I mean, for me, I have restless nights, and I put that down to the fact that I'm in ketosis and my energy levels are really high. Harvey mentioned something, and I hadn't thought about it until he mentioned that the adrenaline levels go high. So can you talk about adrenaline, as a result of fasting, please? Is there any link there?
Yeah, so whether it's ketosis or fasting, it is sort of, in a sense, these are stresses on the body in the same way that exercise is. And they do increase, like, for example, fasting can increase noradrenaline and human growth hormone. And these things I suppose these can keep you up at night, right? And I know that when I've first started doing ketosis, I tended to get quite hot at night. So I think my body must have been working overtime, burning fat or something. And that for me was something that eased off the more consistent I was with what I was doing. It tended to be when I was just dipping into ketosis or just trying out fasting. So I don't know if yours is something that happens all the time regardless. As far as I know, there's no research on that actual outcome.
Alex, I actually I actually wake up very early in the mornings and actually full of energy, especially over a 5-day fast. I can't really sleep. I do like 3-4 hours, and then it's not as if I'm in panic. I just got so much built up energy that I just want to exert it somewhere. A lot of latent energy, and just it's weird. But then around about 6-7 o'clock, I actually want to sleep. It's like I'm actually following the sun and moon.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Well, I mean, I hear this all the time. Like, it sort of rejigs people's rhythms, and usually in a good way, right? Like, usually people need to sleep less, but they feel like they have more energy and they're in a better rhythm. But I think it's a very personal thing, and I don't think there's any research into that outcome. as far as I know. But I mean, if you feel full of energy and stuff, I don't see why it would be a problem. But particularly what you were talking about, not being able to sleep, Trevlin, I'm not sure what I would suggest for that. That's something that for me personally eased off with consistency.
I have that problem too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I fast, I can't sleep. Yeah, for me, oh man, it's tough.
Yeah, and that again might play into the consistency of things. If there's OMAD that you're doing every day and your body's used to doing that, and then suddenly you whack in like something else, it might sort of stir things up, and your body might think that there's some kind of stress incoming and increase adrenaline or whatever, the fight or flight response. So it does stand to reason, I suppose.
Can't hear you, Trevlin. You're mute.
Trevlin, are you talking to us?
Yeah, sorry, I'd forgotten to mute myself because my phone rang. Bowler's got a hand up, so very patient. So thank you for waiting, Bowler. There we are.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk to Alec. There you go. Here we go.
Thank you. Alex, I was in the hospital, and for 3 weeks I was not eating. I was using hypertensive medication, but they had to stop it because my blood pressure drops, and then my blood sugar was around 2.5.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was so terrible. So, I was forced to be taking a juice and one kind of, they call it 40-sip anyway, 40-sip and things like that. But after 2 months, I was getting okay. Then I started eating 1 meal a day. Eventually, I was discharged in the hospital. So I agree that if you are not eating for a long time, it may affect the blood pressure. For now, they stopped my blood pressure because it has remained low. I've been weighing myself every day, measuring myself every day because I have the instrument. Like today, I was 125 over 87. Then my pulse was 81, which is good. So I'm not planning to go for 72-hour fasting because I'm suffering from fatty liver. Then I have fat in my left kidney. This ending of the month, 30th of June, I'm going for ultrasound every 6 months. The urologist, they send letter to me to go and do ultrasound. So they are monitoring the fat in the kidney so that it will not become benign. So I bought this fasting salt. Let me show you. Yep. I bought it from Amazon because I was saying that 6 days would be a lot of this. Maybe I will need to supplement with electrolytes. So I bought this fasting salt from Amazon. It has potassium, sodium, and magnesium. So I just want to find out from you that, is it okay for me to take this because I want to go for 6-day fasting?
I would always recommend that you take some kind of electrolyte supplement if you're doing an extended fast. Yeah, for sure. It's very important to stay hydrated during fasting. Enough water and enough electrolytes, and yeah, for sure, because sometimes people just take salt and water, and that can be fine, but you know, there's some people can have problems with magnesium or potassium as well. And sometimes I even find for really extended fasts, you might want to look at how much of each electrolyte is actually in the supplement, because I find some have quite low levels of potassium relative to others. So yeah, for sure, you should take electrolytes during an extended fast, definitely.
Okay,
and Alex, what else should we take in terms of the vitamin supplements?
Yeah, well, I think usually if you're not doing anything too crazy, it doesn't tend to matter because you do have stores of most vitamins. But I mean, there's no real downside to taking a multivitamin if you're worried about doing an extended fast. Just to cover all bases. I mean, the main things I find really, I mean, I take, when it's not sunny, I take vitamin D anyway. I think a lot of with keto and fasting, magnesium can be quite important because most people are actually deficient in that, and it becomes more profound when you start doing low carb or fasting.
Cool. I take fish oil as well. A lot of omega-3.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's calories in fats, but it's such a tiny amount. But I think for sure taking any kind of multivitamin like that just to cover all bases, there's no real downside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can I just bring? Are you there, Jeanette? I just want to thank you for joining us tonight. Again, you know, your entry into fasting and local loafer is quite interesting. And again, I didn't know if you wanted to share with Alex, you know, what you found, just to sort of give him an insight.
Yeah, well, I don't really dabble too much in the fasting end of it. I found that when I first started with local loafer, within 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I actually did a 15-hour fast before I realized I was even fasting in the first place. I had eaten dinner at 3 o'clock one day and I wasn't eating until the following day. I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? This is great. So then I started to actually fast 24 hours fast, dinner. So that works well for me. But I have did 24, 48-hour fast, but I tend to jump maybe a Wednesday, I jump a dinner, and a Friday I would jump. But that's really it. I don't really go into too much into fasting. 2 days probably would be enough for me at the moment. But I do think fasting is a fabulous way of just keeping your body sort of taking over and going and understanding what food is and stepping back from food just to sort of have a better understanding of your own body and what it can do and what it's capable of, and pushing your goals a bit further. So yeah, fasting's great. It's a great way of just helping your body heal. As I found, psoriasis and stuff that I have gotten is practically gone. You know, things like that with me, I find that my body's healing on the outside as well as internally. So yeah, it's all good.
Jeanette's set up a local loafer group in Belfast, so she has some people over there who she's mentoring and bringing them onto the local loafer journey as well. So
cool.
You know, yeah, she's very enthusiastic. Thank you, Jeanette.
Yeah, again, that plays into again like the consistency of things. Like I see no reason people should feel forced to try, you know, like extended fast if what they're doing is working great for them. Just carry on with that always. I think everyone's got a sort of a perfect way of fasting for them, and it's great when you find it. There's no real reason to sort of, you know, push it out any further.
That's amazing, Alex. That's exactly what I'm trying to teach the group. You know, when it comes to carbs, we burn it exactly the same way. Your potato, your pasta, your rice, it's glucose. We burn it exactly the same way. But how we choose to burn it and what we choose to eat depends on you. You're the individual, so it has to be based around what's good for you, not what's good for me or what's good for Harvey or what's good for travel. It has to be based on your life and what suits you. And things that, because it's a goal, it's a journey that you're going to be following for the rest of your life. And once you actually understand how we burn food, what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, what has the food in it, like vegetables, soup, who knew, pasta, innocent looking food, you know, it's very, yeah. So those kind of foods I'm just teaching the group, basically this is where it is. If you're going to go on a diet and cut back on your sweet intake, remember where the sugar is, remember where it is and where your carbs are, and basically listen to your body. So if your body's telling you you're not hungry and you go 24 hours and 48 hours and you're starting to feel hungry, have a cup of black coffee or black tea, have a mug of water, you feel fine, carry on. Feel so hungry, eat something. You know, don't be over pushing yourself and listen to your body.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay. Before you were talking about medication and heart medication, and we've got Sam Johnson over there in Texas. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining us. You had a situation where you had to go to your doctor and get your heart meds reduced, didn't you?
Yes, mine was mainly blood pressure, but I had heart issues, you know, things like that, stents, AFib, things like that. But since starting all this, the main goal was to lose weight, and which I have done pretty well so far. And the doctor seems to be very pleased, and he's talking about now taking me off of more medications. So I'm very happy with that results.
Oh, that's great news.
For me, anyway.
Yeah, is the doctor pleased?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
He was very happy with the weight loss. Very surprised. He wasn't expecting it.
How much weight have you lost, Sam, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Since when I initially had the stents put in, I've lost about 60 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, good.
Since when is that?
That was actually in 2019, but since I actually started with the local LOFA group, I've lost just a tad over 40 pounds. And in 1 year, I basically lost on the diet that the doctor put me on, which was basically vegetarian, is what he wanted me to be. I lost about 20 pounds, but just since December, I've lost 40 pounds on local LOFA. It's working much better.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. Is there anybody else there who wants? Sorry,
I just wanted to say, I think Bola, have you got your hand up again? Or
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, I missed that. Sorry, I thought it was there from last time. Sorry.
Okay. I just want to find out, like, if one do 3-day block fasting, no food for 3 days, which one is better? If one is eating 1 meal a day, the following day, no food, 1 meal a day the next day, then the following day, no food. Which one is better, or is it the same?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure. Are you asking if OMAD is better than doing a 3-day fast, or?
No, what I'm trying to say is that doing like you're doing homemade, but you now decide to do 3-day no food. Now, I now want to compare it with if you are doing homemade, the following day you don't eat, then the next day you eat, the following day you don't eat, so you are not eating alternate days.
Yeah, so they're like 48-hour fasts. 48-hour fasts, 1 meal every 2 days.
Well, how long are we talking about doing this for? Because that's a lot of fasting.
Why? What's your thoughts? Why do you want to do that? What's wrong with OMAD?
I'm just saying that which one will work faster in losing weight? If you are doing in a week, 3 days in a week, no food, then you other 4 days you are eating.
Well, if I can just cut across, I mean, the longer you go without food, the more weight you will lose. I mean, that's going to stand to reason. But whether or not you'll feel good in yourself because you have got health issues.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd be very cautious. I don't know what your thoughts are, Alex.
As I say, it's all about sustainability for me. It's about what works the majority of the time. And for me, if OMAD is working, I see no reason to mess around with going further. If you're doing 1 meal a day and you're losing weight at the rate you want to and you feel good, I think that's more than enough.
Okay. Then my next question is that for multivitamins, they always say that you have to take it with a meal. So if you are doing like this 6 day long fasting, 3 days long fasting, and you're not eating, I don't think it will be advisable to take like B complex or Well Women, all those multivitamin, because they always say you take them with a meal.
Well, the reason they have that on is just because you absorb the stuff better when you're already, you've already got your stomach acid out for the food, right? That's why you tend to take vitamins and minerals with a meal. It's different for medications because some medications can be more dangerous if you take them on an empty stomach. So that's completely different for actual medications. But when it comes to a multivitamin or electrolytes or something, usually the only reason they put that on there is just because you absorb more when you're already digesting.
Okay.
So as I say, in my opinion, there's no downside to taking a simple multivitamin tablet during a fast.
Thank you.
Okay, if you lower your hand, Bola, then if it comes up again, I'll know then that you want to speak to us. I just want to welcome Anuj. Hi Anuj, how are you doing? You okay?
Oh, I'm okay, Jeffrey. Thank you.
I don't know if there's anything that you want to ask. Anuj is a surgeon, so obviously is a medical professional. So I don't know if there's anything you want to speak to Alex about.
I've met Alex. I just wanted to hear him
again.
again. I've met him in Joe's group, and
Okay.
completely agree with what Alex was saying earlier. I think what I learned from John and Lynn was to break the fast with bone broth. So that's what I used to do. But I have not reached that stage as yet. I'm still, today I was 28 hours. I haven't crossed Harvey's stage as yet, 3 days or 5 days. That's my next target. I have got some magnesium and salts just to try a 48-hour once. I completely agree with Alex. I will not do, I think Harvey, I'll also advise, don't go beyond 5 days without speaking to your doctors. I know John knows, when we go to speak to doctors, most of them don't even know what we're talking about. But still, if something happens to you, it becomes difficult. If you look at the Netflix program, 2 people have died while doing fasting if they're not supervised. They say beyond 24 hours, Harvey is an expert, so that's okay. But those who are doing it for the first time beyond 3 days, it's always considered to be supervised fast is considered to be better. If you've done 5 days, sometimes that's okay. People have done it for 21 days. The record is from a Scottish person who's done for 368 days. So, but that's beyond things. I just here to listen. I was just here to listen to everybody. It's good to listen to everybody's experience, and a lot of people are doing good in terms of how good the response is, and you get motivated by just listening to your fellow colleagues on this path.
Okay, I put John Lynn up there because I didn't know if John wanted to bring anything in. So
Hello again, Alex.
Hi, John. We've met as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't got a lot of experience really of what most people would think of as fasting. I started changing my diet about 2012-13, and it was really moving to the lower carbohydrates that started to have an effect for me. And around that time, around about 2014, I came across Jason Fung online, and he wasn't so big on fasting at that time. He's evolved a lot since then, I think. So I sort of merged smoothly, I guess, into a sort of intermittent fasting. And I found it quite easy because I found eventually, took a week or two, I wasn't really ready for food in the mornings. And so my breakfast time ended up being around about midday or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. And I did try longer fasts, but they didn't seem to make a lot of difference. And at that time, psychologically, I was still so attuned to meal times, I think, that I naturally would eat a late lunch and early dinner. And that was my sort of 16-8, which ended up more like 18-6. And I stuck with that. And I lost a lot of weight I wasn't intending to. because I was still listening to the doctors who were telling me I didn't need to lose any more weight because it would be unhealthy. Although technically by BMI measures, if you place much credence in those, I was overweight, bordering on obese at that stage. Since then, I'd already lost about 40 kilos over a couple of decades with yo-yo dieting. And I'm very good at losing weight, but I'm even better at putting it back on again. But gradually, I guess, as habits changed and, you know, the onset of ghrelin eased a bit, I found it much easier just to eat 2 meals a day. Lynn's gone way past me. She now only wants to eat once a day.
Yeah.
Although I find if I'm busy and forget to have lunch, then I think, oh, it's only a couple of extra hours to go now to wait till dinner time. And that's very easy for me to do. The big thing I find in my case, a minimal amount of fasting has worked, but it's given us the freedom. We're no longer now touring holidays, frantically looking for an open restaurant before they all shut down for the afternoon. It doesn't matter if we can't find a meal, then we can easily keep going till the next one. And that really is a big difference. I've got several comorbidities. And the last time I discussed this with Megan Ramos, she thought it would probably be unwise for me to try, personally, to go for extended fasts. And so I haven't really tried it. And in my case, I don't think I needed it. But I've seen the success stories of so many other people in this group who've really made dramatic changes in their weight. I wonder how much Sam's doctor thinks that he's responsible for Sam's weight loss. You know, does he secretly think, Sam, that you're finally come to your senses and following his instructions properly? Or does he give credit to the intermittent fasting and the low carb?
Well, like I said, my doctor told me to do, he was a vegetarian. He said, I suggest that you do a vegetarian diet, but that was open to everything vegetable, including potatoes and rice and everything. And I did lose a little bit of weight, but I couldn't stick with the vegetarian diet. But what I did find is that when I went low carb, everything just changed. I mean, you've heard it so many times. Everybody says, you know, the skin, the joints. I used to have a lot of arthritic problems in my joints. I don't have that anymore.
No, it's the same with me, Sam. I've got chronic arthritis in my hands and my knees, but I don't take any painkillers for them anymore.
No.
So that is one of the good things. And as John was saying, you know, I only do 1 meal a day. John more often than not has 2 meals a day. But I find that if I do eat, sometimes I just think, oh, I fancy something today, and I have it at lunchtime with John. I don't really want to eat my dinner in the evening, but I've cooked it, so I'll eat it. But I can't eat as much, certainly not as much as I used to these days.
Yeah. Oh, and another point I picked up on, you mentioned, Alex, about autophagy.
Yes.
When I started shifting towards low carb, I'd already got my waistline down to about 42 inches, but it's now under 30 inches, and it's been like that for some years. And I don't have loose skin. Now, I wasn't fasting so much in the early days. It was more the switch to low carb, I think, that did it.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm surprised about that. I've got loose skin in other places. I had a lot of trouble getting my passport photo accepted when it was renewed because they said it looked as though I had my eyes closed. And I had to explain that my eyelids always droop. I always look half asleep.
But yes, but it's...
Okay.
But I know Megan and Jason, they do say about autophagy quite a lot. In fact, I've got their book that they did with, I've forgotten her name, with the fasting. What is it? Life in the Fasting Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Megan and Jason wrote with Eve Mayer. That's it, I remember their name. And mean, she does a lot of extending fasting in there, and she says, you know, you just have to go at your own pace, really. It's not something that John and I would do, I don't think, not extended. I mean, 24 hours is enough for us.
I would like to try longer just to see if I can improve autophagy, but I don't think the likely benefits for me are big enough to take too many risks.
Yeah.
Does any of your work cover exercise much, Alex? Because Linda and I see a personal trainer, we have done for years, and it certainly helps us, I think, with our general fitness, with getting rid of muscle pains and joint pains and things. But and some elite athletes, I believe, train in the fasted state.
Yeah, so my work doesn't cover that yet. I've actually just started my master's project, so there's not a lot to report right now. But perhaps in the future, yeah, that's an avenue I want to go down. But anecdotally, at least, yeah, the best workouts I've ever done have been in a fasted state, and I know not most, but elite athletes in our sphere at least say that they also train in a fasted state. And I know, I'm sure you know Ian Lake.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
He's been doing a lot of stuff with endurance running in fasted states recently. He's got a lot of stuff on his site about that. I don't know whether it was a marathon or some long distance running, and they all did
over
it.
5 days. Ian ran 100 miles without eating anything.
Yeah, it was a very long way.
Yes, but he did it with a few others, with James Cracknell and Trudy Deacon.
Oh yeah, was she in on it? Okay.
Yeah, she was on it as well. Yes, so they were all there, and yes, he says he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years ago, he also, I say walked, I don't think he ran, from John O'Groats. He aimed for John O'Groats down to down into Cornwall, but he didn't quite make it. He did about 700 miles, John.
Yeah, and most people in this group may not know Ian is a GP. He's also a type 1 diabetic.
Yes.
And it's extremely difficult for people like that to control their energy intake.
Yes.
And balance their insulin against it. And Ian succeeded in doing that since he switched to a low carbohydrate diet.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember covering that story a couple of years ago when he did that. Yeah, I think he hurt his foot. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason he
gave
stopped.
up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay, can I ask Julie, where's she gone? Has she gone? Oh, no, you're there. You've just moved around. Sorry, Julie. You okay?
Yes,
Is there anything you want to share with Alex or ask Alex? Or
I do have a couple things I want to ask. I'm interested in knowing what his hypothesis, what he's working on with the fasting in Bergen, and then I just wanted to comment. My doctor recently took me off of one blood pressure med and reduced my second one to a half. And I think that has caused a stall in my weight loss. So I'm assuming that my body is doing whatever it needs to do to get over, those drugs. But, I'm just sticking with the low carb and lower fat. And I am sure it will pick up again. So anyway, Alex.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much I can say actually about my project, because I don't know quite what the rules are on, because obviously it's unpublished.
Right.
But we're looking at alternate day fasting and the outcomes in cancer. So yeah,
I will follow that with great interest because I had cancer a couple of years ago.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll let the group know when I have something to share, but it's just starting now, so it won't be for another year or so till we publish, I suppose, at least a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had my supervisor's very good actually. He let me do whatever I wanted to do. He was like, we can do keto, we can do fasting, whatever you want. So I went for fasting.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say you think the stall is due to you coming down on your medications?
She took me off of one of my blood pressure meds completely and reduced the other by a half.
Right.
So
Okay.
and then I'm hoping that the next time I see her, she will maybe reduce some of my diabetic meds.
Mm-hmm. Have you been having HbA1c tests or glucose
I
tests?
have, and they have been out of range for a good many years. And
Mm-hmm.
my last one was a 5.2, and I don't know how that translates to the system you use in Britain, but it's in the normal range, and I was just
Right.
really pleased to see that.
Yeah.
Was that the HbA1c percentage?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's roughly what we would term as normal range or
It is normal.
pre-diabetic. Yeah.
It is. It's not even pre-diabetic. It's
Yeah,
absolutely normal. So
I think
think in the
anything under
US
5.5 is supposed to be non-diabetic.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I'm thrilled to have found Trufflin because a lot of really good things have happened since I found that his video and started following it.
Oh, great. Well, good luck with that then. I'm sure if you maintain that sort of HbA1c, they'll look at reducing the medication. So, but I haven't heard of anyone saying that a reduction in medication has caused a stall before. I haven't. That's the first I've heard of that. So that would be interesting.
And I don't know. I'm just eating the same. I usually do a 1 day. Well, what would you call it? 48-hour fast. There's one day I don't eat, and the weight is going down, but it's really, really slow at this point. And so I just figure, so the reason that she took me off the one med was because it was keeping my heart rate so low that I was bradycardic all the time. And so, I just think my system has a little bit of adjusting to do now.
Right. Yeah, I see. It's very normal to have a weight loss stall when doing something like this. So, I mean, there's a ton of articles on the internet on like what to do on a low carb weight loss stall or a fasting stall. I'm not going to list them all now, but there's a ton of articles that you can just go through and see what might apply to you.
Right.
The one thing that we found is that when people have a stall, it's just like driving with the brakes on. Just keep doing what you're doing, and then it eventually goes. And again, we've got Andrea. She's testimony to this. She's trying to stall a weight loss at the moment now. She's trying to maintain, and she's still losing weight. Bless her, But it's because maintaining your weight is it's something that you have to do. I'm currently eating post scratchings because I don't want to lose any weight. But if I introduce carbohydrates, because I've had some blueberries and strawberries lately, but the aches and pains have come back into my hands and my joints. So that's not a good thing. So for me, I'll have a couple of post scratchings, and that'll help to stop me losing too much weight. I was going to ask if do you want to say anything, John? Sorry, it's not John and Lynn. It's the other gentleman, John. Jono. Sorry, Jono. Is there anything that you want to ask or mention? Jono, can you hear me? No? No? Okay. Sue, how about you? Is there anything that you want to share, Sue? You're muted at the moment. We can't hear you.
Hi, Tribe. I'm raising my hand.
Yeah, so I just want to hear from Sue first. Yeah, please.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Great. Oh, well, my journey, I'm so excited. Another pound off this morning. For me, as much as it's been a great journey, it's also quite a gentle journey, because I've been overweight all of my life, and I've done every diet there is. And this is the only time that I can honestly say I love the way I'm eating. I love my relationship with food now. It used to be really bad. Um, I'm very fortunate in that I didn't really have what we would call pre-existing health issues, apart from, if you could call, huge inflammation and pain. But I wasn't on medication for it, apart from their answer was always, the huge painkillers. But since reducing sugar, or actually the way I see it, pretty much cutting all sugar out, my inflammation's gone. In my between 40 and 50, I used to constantly use a walking stick very often. I was around 16, I would imagine 15, 16 stone was quite normal. I'm now down to 12 stone 4, but I'm walking, I'm actually going to the gym. I mean, I'm 64. I know there's nothing in age, but when you felt older than that through being overweight, and suddenly it's like, I'm enjoying my freedom. I love my eating one meal a day, although I sometimes do eat two. I listen to my body. I've got a much better relationship with my body. I've apologized to it for what I put it through over the years, and especially when I didn't treat it well because I didn't like it. That was awful. That just made things worse, obviously. So it's like I've got a healthy relationship with food, a healthy relationship with myself. Another jacket that I've had for many years that I couldn't wear, and I got on this morning. I just feel great. I mean, I can run around with my grandchildren. I'm retiring, but actually refiring my aromatherapy business. But it's not just a business, it's more than that. It's my passion. So that's using aroma with emotions, and the weight loss journey with grapefruit. I use grapefruit to sort of enhance what I'm doing. Apple cider vinegar, lemon, a lot of what others talk about. Just loving the journey. But it was the OMAD for me was the key. I have actually managed to do a fast. I did, I meant to do 72 hours, but because I then slept from 10 till 10 the next day, it ended up 84. And I didn't eat till about midday. But you know what? The beauty of it is that I'm free from constantly thinking food, morning, lunchtime, evening. I swim. I used to be a really good swimmer. I'm back to swimming. I feel better than I've felt in years. But as I say, fortunately, apart from having something happen in my eye, and I knew I had to cut out sugar because it was something that happens in the retina to do with diabetes. And I don't know what it's called, but that was one of the prompts that got me to think, you know what, you either got to do something about this now before your diabetes or sugar issues move on from just brain fog and your eyesight to far worse. So that was one kick up the bottom. The other one, because I knew that somehow, well, it was in a quiet space in a meditation, and I really heard the word OMAD. I didn't even know what it was, one meal a day. And then I found Treflin, and everything sort of came together for me. So, as I say, I can't. The beauty about me doing the fast, though, was that I'd never been able to do it. I was driven to do it. You must, you must, you must. And then suddenly it was like I could do it. It was no big deal. And I knew that it was giving my whole system a rest and all my cells. And I can't imagine the good it did well, you mentioned something about the mitochondria earlier as well. And of course, I understand about all the junk that we've eaten over the years and the damage that sugar does. So for me to actually hopefully do a bit of a reset of the mitochondria too and let it all heal and come back to a balance was great. So yeah, I can only say I haven't found the journey hard. I think I'm inclined to, like Alex, you said earlier, if you get hungry, you ride the wave and it will go away. That was how I did it initially. It was like I used to be a smoker many years ago, and you will get a craving or an urge. If you just ride that wave, it will go. And that's how I did the urges in the beginning. But my urges, it turned out, were all related to an emotional eating. So I would get emotionally unsettled, and then I would be hungry. So I didn't really eat for all the right reasons, whereas I feel as if I do now. And mealtime is a pleasure. to eat good food, good organic food. Harvey mentioned it earlier that, you know, we choose our food wisely, we look after our bodies, and I eat grass-fed meat, eggs, spinach, you know, organic greens, love my greens. But again, I don't overeat. I can't overeat anymore. It's like I know when I'm satisfied. So that's it, guys, really, in a nutshell. I didn't have the same, but inflammation, if you can count misery from inflammation that's now gone because my blood sugar levels and the brain fog's gone, and I don't know what's happening with the eye. I'll have to go back and have another test on that to see if that could be repaired by my no sugar, low carb way of eating. I do eat good fats. I don't have an issue with eating good fats. I don't see them as my enemy, whereas I lived through the low fat generation where we cut all fat out, which wasn't good for our brain. But now I understand omega-3. I don't touch vegetable oils, apart from olive oil. And then I get a good one. But so I just feel my whole relationship with food is more as a good fuel. I'm not an emotional eater now, and it's lovely. It's just freedom. It's really good.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, it sounds like you're very in tune with what you wanted your own goals to be and stuff like that. You knew why you were doing it. And I think that's really important to get sorted before you start a lifestyle change is, you know, why you're doing it and what you want to achieve and what each little step looks like. I think, yeah, that's definitely important.
And that's where the journaling, right from the start, and the weighing myself every morning, and people might think, oh, that's extreme or that's too much. It's not, because you're actually on a journey. It's not a sprint, and you're actually bringing a lot of things into balance. And for me, I had to deal with my mind and get my mind in the right place. And for some people, that's the biggest battle at the start, how you see food, how you think about yourself, you know, the whole journey. I mean, I'm now doing 2 exercise classes a week. You know, and they're quite high impact exercise classes, and I'm loving it. I'm back to swimming in the sea. Yeah,
wow.
I mean,
you're doing better than me then.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do anything. Honestly, I was a prisoner inside, like most of us. We could say that my overweight was also a shield. It was also like a protect. It was a soulish, emotional thing that would it would keep me. But now it's like I've shed, I've shed the stuff. Whatever stuff was going on is like it's going. Yeah.
Thank you, Sue. I'm going to take you off the spotlight and bring Bowler back in. You're keeping us busy tonight, Bowler.
Yeah, I just want to enjoy Alex while he's around with us today. My first question is, if you are in ketosis, what happens to the blood glucose? Will it be low? And if it is low, is it dangerous to the body?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're in ketosis, the blood glucose will naturally dip a little bit, but it should still be within sort of normal range. I've had, on me at least, I know I've had a few that have been just below what's considered like the normal lower limit, but it's never been, for example, 2.5, like you said. It shouldn't go that low under normal circumstances. So I would say just look out for the normal range if you're measuring and you know what it's going to be. Sorry, Anuj, did you have something to say on that?
No,
I just coming back to I'll just let everybody else talk, and then I just wanted to add half a minute at the end, if that's okay, Justin.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, then my second question is this: you mentioned autophagy. Is it autophagy or something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you said that the loose skin will not be flat, because I measure my waist. I'm 40 inches. So I've been wondering that by the time I lose weight, I will have a flappy tummy. So the loose skin, what happens to it? One has to go and do surgery to tuck it in, or what is this autophagy going to do to make sure that the loose skin will be okay?
Can I just come in on that just for a second, if that's okay, please? I mean, I lost 9 stone, and I'm not going to stand up now and show you my stomach, but it's a mess. It's like a crumpled bag of crisps, right? I've been on this journey now for 2.5 years, and it's 18 months since I lost that weight, and I have got crumpled skin, and I could go to Anuj and say, Anuj, get your knife out and sort it out and put it in the bin. But I personally am not bothered, because that to me is neither here nor there. But I don't think, I mean, even if, as Alex says, autophagy kicks in and takes care of it, it's not going to happen overnight, and it might, I don't know how long it'll take, 4 years, 5 years maybe. So that's all I'm going to say. You know, I am living with loose skin, but it's not in the way. I don't mind it at all. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's obviously going to be quite variable person to person, and I'm sure age plays a role. I'm sure activity levels and the amount of exercise you do plays a role. But autophagy for sure is going to play a role as well. And just from what Jason Fungus said, and his people do, you know, more than 24-hour fast quite regularly, I think. So they're going to have a lot of autophagy. Anecdotally, they have less loose skin than you would expect. So like if somebody has, like, say, bariatric surgery, or they do calorie restriction or something, they would tend to have a lot more loose skin than someone that's doing a fasting regimen, from what I've seen. But that's not to say that you won't get any loose skin if you lose a lot of weight from fasting, because it happens. I know it happens. So I wouldn't be, you know, downtrodden by some of that occurring. And it like Trevelyan said, it's not going to happen overnight, I imagine.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
I completely agree with what Alex and Trevelyan was saying. I think I used to see a lot of patients with post-bariatric surgery when they have lap banding or gastric bypass. Because they lose rapid weight, they have excess skin hanging around. And I've done all kinds of plastic surgery on the NHS. It used to happen 10 years ago. When you go from body lift, abdominoplasties, breast mastopexies, facelifts, everything has been done on NHS a long time back, but it's not available now because of lack of funding. But if you lose weight slowly, like I'm losing weight slowly, the elasticity of the skin shrinks by itself. So, and that's why OMAD, and it's not a sprint, as Alex said. It's not a sprint, or Sue was mentioning. It's not a sprint. I was very glad to listen to, and that's the advantage of listening to all the stories. It's very motivating as well when you listen to what people, the words they use to describe. And I'm sure, Bola, when you lose weight, you will be so happy that you will not, like Trevelyan, you will not be bothered about this. So if the goal is not to lose weight, the goal is to become healthy. And if you lose weight along the way, that's a bonus. That's an extra bonus, because you feel good in yourself. To answer Sue, the word she was trying to mention was diabetic retinopathy. That's for the eye involvement in diabetes, which I think John also mentioned in our initial chat. Endurance, I do exercise. So I follow BJ Fogg, try to develop good habits. So I initially started on low carb and then slowly build it on with fasting and then improve my sleep. Now I'm adding exercise, though I believe it's the food which we eat is the most important factor, and remaining motivated, having group like these, which keeps yourself motivated. And if you step out of a bit, then come back onto it again, because we want to enjoy life as well. But this becomes enjoyable. I'm eating one meal for the last 9 months. And yes, because of work, sometimes it goes off and on. I have added endurance exercise and resistance exercises. So this growth hormone is released. So when we reach 50 plus, it's important to keep your muscles toned and your bone density important in terms of adding resistance exercises and endurance exercises. I've climbed Snowdonia with 19 hours of fasting. So and I'm going to climb Ben Nevis next month. And to answer Sue or John, I'm going to do Landsend to John O'Groats, but not on foot. I'm doing a road trip. But one day, I'm definitely planning east to west on foot, but not north to south. But one day I'll do that as well, over a period of time. But
you will make it, Anuj.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Alex,
sorry,
Alex, I'm looking forward to your research. Sorry, that was my last point.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, me too.
I've shared it with Treflin, the article in New England Journal of Medicine. It's great to have fasting. People are already using fasting as a regimen for adding the sensitivity to chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, I've got that saved.
Yeah, it's a great work. So we are looking forward to when you publish your research, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot to say on the retinopathy thing as well. We used to, when I worked for the low carb program, we did sort of testimonials from people that had been on the program. And we did have at least one person who had diabetic retinopathy, and they had like huge improvements in their eyes. I think they got their prescription changed and everything. So as far as I know, it is something that you can do something about.
Well, anecdotally, I had retinopathy, and I had a lot of photocoagulation treatment, but my eyes got worse. Eventually, I had quite a lot of surgery, bilateral vitrectomies, then a YAG capsulectomy, I think, various other things. This is back in about 2000 and...
This is pre-low carb.
Oh yeah, this is way beyond low carb. At one point, I was technically blind. When the ophthalmologist asked me how many fingers he was holding before me, I couldn't see his hand, and it was that bad. The surgery brought me back my eyesight, but when I went low carb, I noticed my eyesight got even better. And technically now I have 20/20 vision.
Wow. That's amazing, actually.
It's still not as good as it used to be, though, is it?
No, but that has made a big difference. And through the pandemic, I've been quite ill the last year, and I've noticed my eyesight has varied up and down. And at the moment, as I'm recovering now from some having some stents inserted reluctantly, but I've noticed now that my blood glucose is once more under control through the intermittent fasting, as well as the low carb diet, my eyesight is now as good as it has been for 20 years.
Right. That's great. Yeah. And it is something that's really noticeable as well, right? Like you sort of get a feeling when something's a bit blurrier than it should be. Or,
yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But and I've noticed as well, I mean, I've just got bad eyesight, but most times, as Trevor will tell you, my glasses are up here. I only wear them for reading, which seems to be the way it has happened over the last few weeks. Certainly since I've been doing one meal a day, Trevor. I certainly don't wear they're always there in case I have to read something. Because I can read the television from the sofa, but I can't actually read a book very well without my glasses on.
Yeah.
So technically, I would say my eyesight is better since I've been doing this one meal a day, definitely.
Yeah. And I don't know whether your work, in your work, you monitor glucose levels extensively, but what I've noticed, I don't have to, but I wear continuous glucose meter, the Freestyle Libre. And I've noticed that on days where I'm relatively inactive in the morning, my overnight fasting blood glucose gradually falls through the morning. But if it's a personal training morning, I still won't have eaten, but my glucose levels actually rise during the morning because I guess there's demand for more glucose for energy, and therefore gluconeogenesis kicks in, and my liver delivers what glucose it can from the little body fat I have. And even with my very low percentage of body fat, there's still enough stored energy there, like a sort of short-term battery, to keep me going for a while.
Yeah, that's something very normal. And I mean, for people with diabetes, I think they know it as the dawn phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, it really is a demand thing.
I wanted to ask a question on this. Some people, when they're in ketosis, they can say, oh, I measured my ketones this morning and I wasn't in ketosis. But if gluconeogenesis has kicked in and their body's producing glycogen, in order to bring their blood sugar levels up, that will kick them out of ketosis, won't it?
No, not necessarily.
Won't it? Okay.
I mean, it's more insulin that would do that. I think usually if gluconeogenesis is occurring at sort of a normal rate, that's usually...
Would that not because would that be the perfect amount of a glycogen produced? So can you be in ketosis and in gluconeogenesis at the same time?
Sorry, are we talking about glucagon here?
Yeah.
The hormone glucagon. Yeah, so that's what sort of releases extra glucose when you need glucose in your blood. In my experience, that doesn't kick you out of ketosis.
Okay.
But I mean, you know, different people are different, right? When I'm doing it, I'm in quite deep ketosis at maybe like 3 millimolar. But if someone's straddling the line at like 0.5, 0.6, I guess it's possible that if your blood sugars rise a little bit more than usual, you might dip below.
Okay.
But I'd have to know the context, of course.
No, it was just a question just to sort of get a handle on what was happening.
Right. I mean, I should say at this point, like, don't chase the meter in general. Like in the same way that I wouldn't chase the scales or the ketone monitor. It's first and foremost, it should always be how you feel. So I wouldn't beat myself up if I looked at and I wasn't in ketosis at one point. Like,
no, I don't think, you know, I mean, that wasn't the reason for the question. It was just on the technicality, that was all. Okay. Is there anything that you want to ask anybody, Alex, while we have all these people here?
It's been great to hear from everyone about their experiences. And I think one thing that's very clear is like everyone's sort of finding something that works for them. And what's nice in this group is that everyone's sort of quite far through their journey and that they're already finding out what's kind of working for them. And it's really nice to hear that, actually, and hear about all the positivity that's coming from this.
Bola is new. She's recently joined us. She's only been in the group for a week, and she's very keen to find out. And I appreciate all the questions. You know, thank you, Bola, for coming on.
Thank you. You're
welcome.
Thank
you, Bola.
Thank you.
And again, I know that it's kind of punny that I'm mentioning this again, but consistency really does seem to be the key here. From what I've heard, everyone's sort of found this thing that works, and that's what they just continue to do. And, you know, every so often experimenting and stuff, that's normal. You see how it goes, but we've heard that sometimes you do maybe an extended fast, you find out it's not for you, and that's fine. If you've got something that works, that's great. And, you know, that's the take home for me is be consistent and listen to your body. And that's what I would say to someone who's just starting.
Okay, thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions for Alex before we wrap up, or anybody thinks that there's something we haven't covered?
I should say as well, if anyone thinks of something, I believe in the Local OFA Facebook groups. You could probably post in there, or just let Trevlin know. I'm sure he can get a message to me. So yeah, thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks. Take care now. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Now, thank you again, Alex, for giving up your time and joining us tonight. Thank you so
Anytime.
much. It's absolutely fabulous.
Have a good one. See you.
Yeah, thanks.
So I've been keeping myself on mute because my dog's a bit loud today.
Oh, yeah.
Right on cue.
Yeah.
Eric, sure. I thought I'd join. Hang on a minute.
I hope you enjoy these videos that we make for you. If you want to find out more about how we're fighting the war against weight and type 2 diabetes, join us on the Local OFA group on Facebook. Also, you can catch up with our videos on the Warrington Low Carbohydrate group. There's tons and tons of videos there. And if you're not into Facebook, or you don't want to sign up for Facebook, then you can join us on our website below, which is www.localofa.com. And on there, we've got blogs. I'll be putting a weekly blog up. I've got videos on there. So there's lots of information will be coming through. So there's different ways you can keep in touch with us. But again, don't forget, if you want to follow us on YouTube, then please subscribe and ding that bell. Okay, thanks a lot. Take care. See you soon. Bye.